Hello, everyone. We're incredibly excited to welcome you to another year of Hart House Debating Club's opening of the house. My name is David, and I'm the president of the Debating Club. Today's session is going to do two things. We're going to showcase a show debate with some of our club's best, strongest, finest debaters. You guys can witness the logical, persuasive masterclass that these fellow U of T students have to offer. And then the second thing we're going to do is this is also going to serve as kind of a mini info session for those of you who are new or returning members who are interested in joining the Hart House Debating Club. So without further ado, let's get started. Next slide. Okay, so the first thing I'd like everyone to do, if you have your phone with you, is to scan the slide just to join our Discord server. Our Discord server is where the majority of our communication takes place. So you can join it, and if you don't have Discord, please download it, even if it means joining the server, because this is where the majority of the updates and everything will be communicated to. So it is imperative that you join it. The QR code will also be available after the presentation again, so if you don't join it in time or if you're figuring out how it works, don't worry, you'll have another chance. Next slide. So how this event is going to play out. We're going to start with just a quick primer on the format of debating that we're going to be doing here at Hart House Debating Club. We primarily use a form of debating known as British parliamentary style. This is just going to be really quick, just to get you guys familiar with how the debate's going to work so you're not completely confused on what's going on. We're also going to do a brief speaker introductions of our four fine debaters who will be speaking today. At 6:30, our show debate is going to begin. And then after the show debate concludes, and this is the fun part, there's going to be a public vote. So all of you guys will be able to vote to decide which side you think has won the debate, the government or the opposition. After that, we're briefly going to just do kind of the info session where we tell you guys how to get involved with Hart House Debating Club. It's going to be a short presentation with some of our lovely executive members. And then finally, at 7:30, there's going to be kind of like a mix and mingle event where you get to kind of come up to us, kind of come up to the upper year members of the Hart House Debating Club and talk to us, ask us questions, anything that you have concerns with. Cool, next slide. So we're gonna begin with format and introductions. So the way in which British parliamentary debating style works, which is the debating style we're going to be using for the majority of our debate meetings, the tournaments and the competitions that you decide to go to if you do want to, but more importantly for the show debate, it involves two teams which are on opposite sides of the debate. The team defending the topic, the one that is in favor of the topic, is called the government side, and the one that is opposed to the topic is called the opposition side. Each speaker is going to have 7 minutes to give their speech with a 15-second grace time, so 7 minutes and 15 seconds in total. And in British parliamentary debate, there's a specific speaking order between the four speakers, and we're only going to be doing like half of the actual debate because we only have 4 people here. But the speaking order will be the first government speaker defending the motion is the Prime Minister, then we have the first speaker opposing the motion or the topic is the leader of the opposition. The second speaker defending the motion is known as the Deputy Prime Minister, and then the second speaker opposing the motion is known as the Deputy Leader of Opposition. So I'm going to be using these terms just to get you guys familiarized in the actual debate, but that's what those terms mean. Also during the debate, while speakers are speaking, you may notice that opposing members of the other team may stand up or they may shout really loudly and they say something like POI, or points of information. This is an interjection that you're allowed to use to interrupt when another speaker on the other side of the debate is speaking. You're basically able to kind of ask them a question or make a statement on the fly that they can respond to. The debate will be facilitated by the chair, and in debates, right, like people judge the debates to kind of determine a winner. In this case, you guys are all going to be determining the winners, but in most debates there will be a chair who is like kind of the chief or primary judge that determines the winner of the debate by evaluating like which side seems more persuasive, more convincing, and I will be the chair for the show debate. Next slide. Okay, so I guess we'll start with introductions of the chair, which is me. My name is David, as you guys know. I'm the president of the Hart House Debating Club. Some of my debating achievements include winning Seagram's InterVarsity, making the novice finals of the North American Universities Debating Championships and Yale InterVarsity, as well as making the semifinals of Berkeley InterVarsity. These are all like fancy schmancy debate tournaments. Some other cool stuff, I guess, that I've done throughout my 6 years of debating career. Fun fact is I really love my cat. She's a brown tabby. Feel free to talk to me after the debate if you want photos of her. Okay, I'll now leave it up to the speakers to introduce themselves, starting with Andre.
Hi. Does this work? Yes. Okay, cool. Hi, so I'm Andre. I will be the Prime Minister, so that's the first speaker in this debate. I am going into my second year at the University of Toronto Scarborough. I study business and computers. Beyond that, with Hart House, I am our outreach lead, so that means, actually, you know what, I'll talk more about that later, but yeah, I'm an outreach lead. I also do a lot of tournament running and event organization for the club, so if you're interested in that, come talk to me about that after. More importantly, I hate Simon, and I'm a massive nerd about public transit, transportation, and city planning. Awesome. All right, Diana.
Wait, don't we go in speaking order?
Sure.
Hello, my name is Simon. I'm a fourth year finance and economics student at UTSG. I reciprocally also hate Andre. I'm the treasurer for the club. I've been around the debate circuit for like 5-ish, 6-ish years now, and I have a large white dog. If you want to see photos of him, please ask me after the debate. I would be very happy to share them with you.
Hi, my name's Diana.
You have to yell.
Hello? Okay. My name's Diana. I'm a fourth year accounting and statistics. I'm the socials director, and you can come talk to me about bugs or Pikmin or gaming. Those are my special interests. Yeah.
Okay, this will not leave the thing, so I will crouch, I guess. Hi, my name is Kosar. I'm the DLO. I'm the communications director, so if you see the Instagram posts, that's me. Some of my achievements are up there. I went to like 3 tournaments last year, that's why one of them is from university. And then graphic design is my passion, as indicated by my role.
All right, let's hear a round of applause for our speakers. All right, so now we're going to be introducing the motion. The word motion is basically just like an archaic British parliamentary way of saying the topic of the debate. It's what we're going to be primarily debating on. So without further ado, and if you've already seen this on the Instagram, it shouldn't come as a surprise. But this motion is also going to have an info slide. So the info slide is usually accompanying the motion, which provides some additional context in case there are some complex terms or like novel terms that are used within the motion, just to kind of define things and make the debate a bit clearer. So we're going to start off with the info slide. Okay, you guys can read it. Actually, for the people in the back where it might be hard to see, I'll also read it out loud. Transhumanism refers to a future where advanced technologies are used to augment and transcend the biological limitations of humans. Example, brain-computer interfaces, bionic implants, customizable genetic traits. It is meant to elevate human capabilities beyond their natural level, as opposed to medical uses of technology aimed at restoring basic capabilities. Example, prosthetics for amputees, curing hereditary diseases. So with that out of the way, we're going to now reveal the motion for opening of the House 2024. And the motion is, this House hopes that the future of humanity is transhumanism. All right. Next. Okay, so with that out of the way, I'm now going to begin the debate. So as you guys know, I'm the chair. The usual procedure for British parliamentary debates is the chair calls on each of the speakers in order of their speeches. So I'm going to call on now the Prime Minister to open this round of debate. Hear, hear.
For centuries, human technology has gotten better. But I think we've reached a limiting point. And this limiting point is the chronic idiocity and chronic physical limitations of our species. This is what transhumanism fixes. I'm going to do 4 things for you in this speech. First, we're going to talk a little bit about why this is going to be safe, then about why this is going to be accessible, and then we're going to talk about the benefits on a micro level and on a macro level. But before that, I just want to note that this debate is not about whether or not transhumanism is actually something that is possible. The debate is about would we choose to live in a world that already has this as an important feature. All right, first then, why is this likely to be safe? I think that this is fairly intuitive, right? People have seen sci-fi movies of how stuff like this goes wrong. It's a very scary concept. Things like bionic chips, things like body implants, right? So we think then people are going to be very skeptical of these technologies. That is to say then, it is going to put an immense amount of pressure on regulators, immense amount of pressure on the companies developing these technologies to ensure they are safe before they're released into the market. Second then, on why they're likely to be accessible. And I think that there's two reasons for this. The first is simply that companies want to sell their products and they want people to be able to afford them. If they price this technology at a price point that is far too high for the average person to be able to afford, then nobody's going to buy it and they're not going to be able to recoup their investment on their product. But I think the second reason is insofar as this technology is we're likely to have polarizing realms developing in, at the very least, China and the United States, and possibly other countries, each developing their own version of this technology. We think then there's competition amongst these countries to then have third countries purchase their goods. For example, China wants, some country in Western Asia to purchase their transhumanist technologies as opposed to the American one, so they have an incentive to price it at a price point that is affordable and attractive to these third countries. So that's why it's likely to be accessible to the average person. Now then, let's talk a little bit about why this technology is actually going to be beneficial. I think that in the status quo, people face a lot of different biological constraints. These could be physical constraints, right? Look at me, I couldn't even bring up the microphone. This could be things like I'm gonna die when I turn 80. We also face mental constraints. Our brains only have the capacity to process so much types of information. We are subject to things like biases, groupthink. We struggle when it comes to things like creativity. I stutter, right? So these are problems that we face in our lives. How then does transhumanism fix this? Rather intuitively, what transhumanism does is it allows us to overcome these obstacles and it allows us to overcome these barriers that we face in our day-to-day lives. What does this look like? Well, I think you can imagine, but the possibilities are largely endless. I want to do a whole bunch of stuff in my life, but I lack the ability to do this because, well, I need to sleep for 8 hours at night. Imagine a world in which I didn't have to sleep for 8 hours a night. Alternatively, I want to live really, really long, but I can't do that because I'm going to die when I get 70 or whatever, right? So transhumanism enables us to do this. I want to climb Mount Everest. I can't do this. And the reason I can't do this is because my body kind of sucks. But to the point at which we have transhumanist technologies, people are able to pursue these things. The point is not that you need to necessarily really enjoy doing one of these things. Rather, the point is transhumanism allows people to better pursue the things that they want. In other words, it gives people actual freedom and free will, free of these biological constraints that they otherwise face. And I think that this is extremely important insofar as the ultimate purpose of human existence is to pursue the goals and the dreams that we have. We think that this is what people strive to do. This is what transhumanism better enables at the point at which it removes these biological limitations. So then, that's on a micro level. Now then, let's chat a little bit about what happens on a macro level. So that's a societal scale. And I think that, rather intuitively, it makes us smarter, right? I talked about, for example, how it improves our ability to process information. It improves our ability to use our senses to perceive what is going on around us, to take this information into our brain. We're able to process the information in our brain. We're able to use it to do more amazing things, right? The Infoslide talks about things like bionic brain implants, etc. I think that these are all steps to that. Crucially, though, we think that other technologies become constrained by human interaction, right? A chain is only as strong as the weakest link, and in this case, the weakest link is the idiocy of the average human, including myself, right? So I think then that this enables us to essentially supersede this barrier. We get more brain power, we get more cognitive processing capability. This looks like a greater capacity to think, to research, to engineer, to share knowledge with the world. The possibilities are endless. Why then is this beneficial on a societal level? Oh, sure.
Is the average person frustrated by their need to sleep interfering with their ability to pursue their goals?
I think so, yes. I think that this is a very legitimate concern that people have. And even if this concern does not apply to you, I think it would be very hard for you to come up here and argue that the average person does not face a single biological limitation that impairs their ability to do something that they enjoy in their life. Admittedly, this is different for everyone, but I don't think, yeah. Okay, cool. So what are the current trade-offs that people face and how do they go away? This looks like things like we're better able to develop technologies to actually protect the environment. Things like carbon capture technology. This looks like things like because we're smarter, we're now able to find cures to diseases. We're now able to find more effective cures to more diseases. This looks like things like we're able to do more with the resources we have. We're able to do things like find solutions to poverty. In the status quo, these things are difficult insofar as our brain processing capabilities are limited by our biological limitations. At the point at which we fix this, we make these things far better. The last thing I want to talk about then is the impact of this on democracy. We think that people are likely to want to take these body limitation, these body enhancements, these brain enhancements, whatever, for things like their jobs, for things like to make their lives better. But we think that a rather neat side effect of this is that this also applies to the way in which people vote. Winston Churchill said that the best argument against democracy is a 5-minute conversation with the average voter. And that was his way of saying people are kind of irrational when they vote. At the point at which we allow people to do things like have a better ability to process cognitive information because now their brains have this bionic kind of implant. At the point at which we allow people to like enhance their cognitive abilities to overcome biases, to overcome groupthink, we say that we allow people to make better electoral choices. We say that we get better politicians elected because they become more rational voters. The crucial implications of this is even if the technology is not accessible to everyone, it still has benefits. If we are able to find ways to reduce carbon emissions, everyone benefits. If we are able to find cures to diseases, everyone benefits. If we are able to elect politicians that are not blundering idiots, then everyone benefits. What do we tell you then on opening government? We tell you 2 main things. The first is that it restores the ability of people to choose, it restores the ability of people to pursue the goals that they want to pursue that they otherwise cannot on opposition's will insofar as they face these biological limitations. And 2, we tell you that we get a society that is fair, we get a society that enables us to do more with limited resources. We're proud to stand on opening government.
I thank the Prime Minister for his fine remarks, and I call on the Leader of Opposition to open the debate for opposition. Hear, hear.
Hello. So the main measure used to evaluate happiness internationally is called the Cantrell ladder. It's a poll that asks respondents to imagine a ladder with 10 rungs, each corresponding to some quality of life, where they're subsequently asked to rate their lives on a scale from 0 to 10. And you'd probably be unsurprised to hear that the average scores from the poorest and most unequal countries are consistently very low. The national response for Afghanistan this year averaged out to 1.72 out of 10 for the entire country. I bring this example up to illustrate that the mere recognition I don't share the same freedoms and opportunities as those around the world for no reasons but the arbitrary circumstances of my birth, that's deeply distressing. The understanding that I have nothing but a futile hope to participate in the extravagant lifestyles that are enjoyed by countless others in my lifetime, simply because I was screwed in the lottery of birth and born into insufficient opportunity to even earn like a reliable subsistence income. That's deeply unfulfilling. And this sort of anguish, I think, only intensifies to the point I know or I believe that those luckier than me are off to spend more money than I could ever hope to earn, and off to spend it on sums that I could never hope to afford as I'm left behind. Andre does like 30 seconds in the PM to explain why this sort of unequal dystopian hellscape doesn't manifest in a transhumanist future, where the increasing capability and productivity of those wealthy enough to afford transhuman augmentations eclipses those who cannot. He doesn't address inequality on at least 3 levels. The first is that he fails to substantiate how to address inequality between classes. The rich just intrinsically have greater capital to be able to afford augmentations, and more sophisticated augmentations at that the poor can't access because they're priced out. I know he says all of this stuff about, oh, there's competition that exists, but these augmentations are unaffordable because from a production standpoint, the rare precious earth metals that are probably needed to power them and interface them with human biology only exist in limited quantities around the world, and so the prices of their transhumanist product derivatives presumably only increase as resource scarcity intensifies and their already limited supply diminishes further. But also, from a demand perspective, presumptive population growth in the future means that demand is only going to continue to rise for a good that's already increasingly scarce, thus prices for goods that provide such a significant structural advantage in productivity consequently also rise and price up the lower classes. I think that that's bad. Diana needs to respond. The second is that even if OG manages to approve affordability and accessibility, they still need to prove buy-in from historically marginalized and disenfranchised communities, otherwise inequality persists. So, for example, rates of tuberculosis among indigenous communities remain concerningly high in the modern day, despite tuberculosis being a very treatable ailment with antibiotics. The reason for this is there's just a very entrenched institutional distrust of modern medicine that's very difficult to overcome, that needs to be in order for these groups of people to not be left behind. But the last is that even if opening government manages to prove unitary national distribution, they need to substantiate some degree of global equality. There needs to be some sort of explanation as to how this incredibly sophisticated technology is going to trickle down to the countries that have been pillaged by processes like colonialism and neoliberalism. Why is it that even in the poorest places in the world, where after 120 years, people are still struggling to afford cars that have only marginally improved since like the earliest Ford automobiles in the 1900s, why is it that the average person there who struggles to afford a car now, why will they be able to afford an implant in the future? The failure to address these concerns means that government's benefits of like higher productivity and capability only really concentrate to the wealthiest and most privileged people in the world. Those that have already born of extraordinary circumstance, they'll continue to get richer, but the rest of humanity, I think, will rot away. This sounds like a world of immense dissatisfaction. It sounds like a world of socio-political turmoil. Those that have nothing and are dissatisfied will probably try to strike out against those who have everything, but they'll only be crushed by an iron and cybernetically augmented superhuman boot. This is, I think, a future that I want to avoid. But I think it's rather gauche to end the debate here, so let's assume for the remaining 3 minutes of the speech that Diana can somehow fill in the analytical holes during Deputy Prime Minister and provide some sort of global or egalitarian level of technological distribution. Let's also assume that she homogenizes the most accessible and the most sophisticated implants as their best case. This seems to address most of the most glaring objections that I posed within the first 4 minutes of my speech. Why is this still a bad world to live in? Sorry. Because I think in this world, where it is that we have technologies that can augment our physical and cognitive capabilities to expand their biological limits and achieve like this extraordinary productivity that Andre tells you that we all desire, I think that transhuman implants would functionally just normalize a superhuman level of productivity among everyone that only becomes sustainable when it is that there is the mass adoption of these sorts of implants by labor. I think I've already talked quite extensively about why this isn't likely, but let's just assume that it is for a minute. Your choice to opt into an implant becomes purely illusory because you are coerced into getting one if it is that you want to remain a competitive applicant in any sort of activity that has vertical skill expression. So if you want to remain a competitive worker in the labor market, you want to remain like a lover in the dating market, or just like a hobbyist in any sort of activity that you could think of, you need to now get one of these implants. There's just a fundamental violation here when it is that we are forced to receive these invasive bodily implants that push us far from the function that the human level was designed to handle. There are violations here of bodily autonomy, there are violations of consent, and of intrinsic human endurance. None of this is because we necessarily want to, or because it's safe, because we have to. Sure.
Simon, why are you wearing clothes?
Okay, like the direction in which I suppose you're taking this POI is, well, clothes are also inaccessible, but like surely not to the same extent as an implant that can allow me to like stay up for 72 hours. Otherwise, I don't understand what the point of the POI was. Sorry. Let's talk about the context of work. So in the 21st century, when it is that corporations already expect workers to rely on stimulants like caffeine and coffee to be able to meet their work obligations, I'm not sure if it is that I trust the same oligarchs that run those corporations to not like cream their pants at some future neurological implant that allows their workers to stay awake and concentrate intensely for like 72 consecutive hours. I'm not sure that it is that I trust them to prioritize the sociological comfort of their workers over metrics like labor productivity and corporate profit for the reasons that it is that Andre himself has said, right? When it is that corporations are successful, we're more capable of doing research and development, we're more capable of being technologically sophisticated. Those are things that I think ultimately trump the concern about workers and whatnot. So the other thing, though, is I think that this probably isn't even a moral decision. Businesses and industries at large, I think, are probably forced existentially to capitulate to an artificial and superhuman level of productivity at the point at which that determines whether or not they can compete in the market, whether or not they get undercut by their competitors and forced out. And maybe you say that it is that corporations can work out some sort of agreement where they agree not to undercut one another. Maybe it is that the state gets involved and enforces some sort of binding legislation to protect workers from being forced into transhuman implants that force them to work like ungodly numbers of hours. I don't think any of these are likely to work. Why? On corporate collusion, we already know through basic game theoretic analysis of repeated games that only one actor needs to chase higher short-term profits by undercutting the rest of the market for retribution incentives to kick in and for the entire market to subsequently have to pursue the same strategy to offer the same prices. Otherwise, they just get cut out of the market, they can't continue to exist. On government regulation, limiting the amount of productivity that your workers can contribute to just definitionally sounds like bureaucratic red tape, which is already unpopular, but I also think that like governments regulating things properly is unlikely when it is that we have massive corporate lobbies that are presumably just more enriched with higher productivity. So between these two worlds, one where there's inequality and one where it's hell for everyone, pick your poison. But if you insist on sipping poison, I can only say I was proud to oppose.
I thank the Leader of Opposition for his fine speech, and I call on the Deputy Prime Minister to continue the case for side government. Hear, hear.
My speech will begin on my next word. I think first I just want to address what Simon says about inequality and accessibility to this invention. I think For the point about creating more class division, like poverty and exploitation are things that are created by human systems because these are the systems in which our limited thinking minds are able to create, which means systems like capitalism and stuff like that create suffering and exploitation because they're imperfect systems because we're not smart enough to invent better systems yet. When we live in a transhuman society, we will be able to come up with solutions for this because transhumanism allows us to be more smarter, allows us to find ways to resolve these inequalities. Like currently, sure, our microprocessors rely on like rare earth minerals mined by slavery, but if we're able to achieve superhuman intelligence, we're probably able to find solutions like better materials or more equitable ways of obtaining our current materials. Whereas due to our biological intelligence limitations, the future on Ops world is we're stuck in the same boat using the same systems that promote inequality, only we're unable to find new solutions. Then on accessibility, I think, sure, that the countries that invent transhumanist technologies will probably be the first to access them. But we're talking about the long run in this debate, where these technologies are very likely to make their way into disadvantaged groups. I think this is due to two reasons. I think first, marginalized groups and people in less able conditions are probably far more incentivized to use better and more innovative technologies in order to achieve their goals. This is like drone deliveries in Rwanda for medical equipment, where because they're able to because they require these innovations that they're more likely to be smarter about this, they have more incentive to pursue more innovative solutions. And I think they also have the capacity, as larger nations who are able to transcend their human bigotry will probably have sympathy for more exploited nations, where they're probably likely to give them some form of this technology, help them develop it or something, like in treaties and such. I think human sympathy exists. It's very unlikely where the world is just a capitalist hellscape in the future. I think on our third case, then on why transcending our limitations is probably just a principally good thing. I think what Andre tells you is that biology is fundamentally limiting. There are upper limits on how fast we can process information, how fast we can live, and as technology improves, we're likely to reach these limits and unable to surpass them without transhumanism. I think then transhumanism would just be the natural progression between biology and technology. We're able to integrate each other. I think the comparative is that in Ops world, human technology will still be better, but because we're separate, we're less able to control the technology that is improving because of our fundamental biological limitations. And I think they will also be experiencing diminishing returns on technological advancements where we're unable to harness the power of the technology that we have invented. Yeah.
So people in the 1900s thought by 2024 we'd have invented time travel and teleportation. How do we know that we're going to be able to achieve this enlightened transhumanist superintelligence with several magnitudes of order smarter than the average human is? And if it is that we have the ability to achieve it, how long will it take?
I think this is first of all, people also thought in the 1900s that we won't have things like AI or instantaneous communication. We're not very good at predicting the future, but I think we're kind of on the borderline here, right? Medical technology is able to extend human life expectancy to 100 years, whereas the natural limit is 120. We're almost reaching this point, and I think when we have better technology like AI and stuff to help us, our rate of improvement is probably going to be accelerating. I think then on just why it is good to keep evolving as a species. I think humans have an innate desire to improve and explore and evolve. Early humans expanded to every corner of the globe. We sailed through the seas even though a lot of people who went on ships never came back again. Outer space has been captivating our imagination since the 50s and the moon landing. And now we're setting on our sights for Mars, right? And technology has always facilitated this type of human advancement. And the immediate tangible benefit to society would just be a dramatic increase in unity and in morale. People no longer fear that we'll be able to be limited by by biology, and when we have further goals, there's probably more motivation to achieve them. Like kids will be more encouraged to pursue fields in STEM. Like when people have more hope for the future, they're probably going to pursue actions today. Like if you know that transhumanism can lead us to solving climate change, you're probably likely to support like research that pushes us in that direction. I think this is an immediate and tangible change to our societies of today. I think the life of the average American probably didn't like improve dramatically when Apollo 11 landed on the moon, but they felt the immensity of witnessing a part of history, and that the morale boost to like all of mankind like united, even for if it's just for a little while. I think we're able to see massive improvements in this way. I think then on weighing what we have told you today, I think what we have told you on the micro individual level is that we're able to restore people's ability to make better choices and do the things they want to do without being limited by biology. Things Andre told you, like not needing to sleep your 8 hours so you can pursue hobbies that you weren't otherwise able to do. I think for an individual level, this just increases the amount of happiness that you have on a day-to-day basis. We have more time, more ability to do the things that you want to do. And I think your individual morale will just be improved when you know that there's hope for the future. You're probably going to be more hopeful about the world. You're likely to live a happier life, maybe pursue things that you otherwise thought of as impossible and like chase your dreams and stuff. I think on the macro level then what we tell you is that humanity and society as a whole are smarter. We're better able to make choices and come up with solutions like war and conflict, stuff like climate change, where our puny human brains today have no idea how to resolve, but we know that there is a solution that exists in the future somewhere. We're more likely to push ourselves towards that goal. So proud to propose.
I'd like to thank the Deputy Prime Minister for a fine speech and for closing out the government side of the debate. And now, to close out the opposition side and the debate as a whole, the Deputy Leader of Opposition, hear, hear.
Sorry, I'm shorter, so I need to adjust this. I want to start off this speech by quoting Diana. She says that it's unlikely that in the future we'll have a capitalist hellscape in a transhumanist world. I want to explain that we already live in a capitalist hellscape. We already live in a world where we're exploited to our max, where we're treated as people who are supposed to work for the capitalists, who work for companies to make profit. So I want to explain then why it is that every metric that the government says they win on, for example, safety, accessibility, achieving what your dreams and goals are, and solving world issues, why they fail. And then I'm going to explain why it is necessarily that we're going to have a substantive amount of inequality in a transhumanist world. Okay, I think first though, it's important to note that this debate is not necessarily about what a transhumanist world in terms of technology can do, because it's very hard to predict, as we said, what is possible for us to do. It's very hard to predict what problems we can solve, what technologies we actually will have access to. But I think what's easier to predict in terms of the current structures that we exist in is how this technology will roll out, how it is that individuals will actually have access to technology, how it is that it'll roll out in a global scale. All right, first getting into what they say about safety. Andre comes up and says a few things. He says that safety is likely to happen because there probably is going to be a high level of skepticism because this is novel technology, because it's pretty foreign to people, and this is necessarily going to translate into some sort of like regulation. I want to first say that this is not true. It's not necessarily true that high levels of skepticism translate into some sort of political change, because I think it's very difficult for individuals on the ground to actually unify under a central kind of umbrella and to actually communicate their plans and goals to the government. But second, I think there's a lot of barriers that exist, even if they're able to do this kind of communication. The lobbying power that a lot of companies have, presumably companies that are actually coming up with this technology that are going to benefit very substantially in terms of monetary gains by selling this type of technology, I don't think necessarily individuals are going to be able to counteract that type of power. Thirdly, I think even if regulation exists in a very, very good world, I think it's very likely that it's not going to be quick enough. So in the interim, when there's a transition period to a world where we have some transhumanist technologies existing, I think it's very likely that even in that interim, we're going to have high-scale inequality. All right, so that's First, why it is that we're probably not going to have safety. At best, we're going to have very slow regulation. I'll explain why this is necessarily bad. But at worst, we're going to have a world where there's not a lot of regulation at all. The market is determining like necessarily how it is that this like transhumanist world plays out. I want to bring an example here of like insulin, right? I think like in a lot of like, I don't know, insulin was invented like 100 years ago. It was not very difficult to create. It's not a very expensive thing. But I think companies, because there's like 3 companies that produce it, they're able to price gouge so hard. And people who desperately need this, right? It's not that they want insulin. It's like they desperately need it to live. They're not actually able to access it because it costs like thousands of dollars a month in order to be able to access it. So I think this like is an intuition pump, right? Just like, for example, insulin, because people are not able to access it, it's probably likely that similar technologies that people want to access are going to also be price gouged. All right, secondly, in terms of accessibility, right? They come up here and say that there's going to be competition. I'd like to say we don't live in a world of perfect competition. It's not the case that we have like hundreds of like firms competing with like transhumanism, right? I also want to explain why this is necessarily true. Because when like a company is going to invent some sort of transhumanist technology, whether it's like a bionic chip, whatever it is, they have a first mover's advantage, right? They're able to patent, they're able to like, you know, like have some sort of intellectual property. They're not necessarily like, there's not going to be other companies that are easily being able to come in and take this technology and kind of like make it fairer. These companies have like a lot of advantage to keep that patent, keep those technologies to themselves, not necessarily make it fairer in terms of price. So that's necessarily why it is that it's not going to be accessible from a production standpoint, from a market standpoint. Thirdly, I want to talk about this idea of achievements and what it is that Andre says that even if this technology plays out well, even if a lot of people have access to it, recognize that I've already proven why this is probably not the case, why it's probably not safe, why it's probably not accessible, why it is that achievements in a transhumanist world are necessarily like made worse, right? Because I think necessarily achievements are valuable because they're scarce. Like when you say like, oh, like I want to climb Mount Everest, it's probably because not a lot of people climb Mount Everest. You want to be one of the special people in the world who is being able to do something that a lot of other people haven't done. But when everybody, or like even a larger portion of society has access to transhumanist technology, and they're able to do a lot of these things, the value of climbing Mount Everest significantly diminishes. You're not actually going to be able to access that benefit. You're probably not going to be fulfilled in the same way that Andre wants you to believe. I'll take it.
When you have a cool achievement, it means things to you. Like, you might not be the first to climb Mount Everest, but that achievement still brings you personal joy.
Okay. I'll actually refute this as well, right? I think it brings you joy because you're able to sacrifice things for it. You're able to do things that you otherwise like wouldn't have done. Like, for example, I'm probably here because I've spent countless hours in this sport, and I'm like debating an opening of the house because I've like actually invested time into it. But like, if everybody has access to those same resources, they're not sacrificing things for their achievements, I think the intrinsic value that it has to people also diminishes. So I think necessarily the like achievement argument on whether it's external or internal is made worse on their side. Fourth, I want to talk about like this like notion of solving world issues. I think there's a couple assertions here that we need to unpack. First, I think like we know the solution to all of the, like a lot of the world issues that we have, right? So for example, like climate change, it's not that we're like absolutely clueless as to how we're supposed to solve this problem. It's not necessarily that we're absolutely clueless on how to solve like global poverty or like hunger and things like that. It's that the structures that we exist in necessarily restrict us from being able to implement those solutions. And I don't think that government comes up and actually proves why it is that in a transhumanist world we're able to like escape those structures and actually achieve like some sort of equality or some sort of advancement towards like this type of technology. I concede that maybe in a transhumanist world where we have like, I don't know, like supercomputers in our brain, we're able to come up with more innovative technologies, more innovative solutions that come up with better ways to actually solve our problems. But I don't necessarily think that they prove to you why it is that this is actually going to play out. And I have a couple reasons for this. The problem is capitalism, right? The problem is that a lot of these companies, given that the power that they have, given the like incentive that they have to compete with each other, given the incentive that they have to use their like workers to the maximum of their ability, they probably have an incentive to instead of make things better, to instead of make things, I don't know, like better for the world in terms of, I don't know, getting their workers from like good labor, like paying their workers fairly, they probably have an incentive to cut their costs by doing things that are probably detrimental for the environment, probably detrimental for people, and probably just detrimental for the world, not solving the issues that government wants you to believe. So I want to clarify then what it is that government's actually proven to you. They haven't proven to you that safety is existing in this world. They haven't proven to you that it's accessible. They haven't proven to you that the achievements that you are actually able to do in a transhumanist world are better for you, whether intrinsically or extrinsically, because we tell you that it's necessarily that the value of these achievements is diminished. finished. And fourthly, they don't prove to you that any global issues are actually going to be solved. What does Simon prove to you? He exclusively proves to you why it is that these structures that we exist in are likely to perpetuate inequality in a really, really bad way, and why it is that in a transhumanist world, this inequality at best is going to be a lot worse than it is now, but at worst going to tear apart society. For all those reasons, so proud to propose.
I'd like to thank the Deputy Leader of Opposition for her fine speech. And with that, this concludes the show debate for the opening of the House. Let's get one more round of applause for all of our amazing debaters. At this point, what we're going to do is, as promised, we're going to hold a public vote. That means everyone in this event who is here right now attending can take out their phones and scan the QR code. It's going to send you to a link where you can fill out a Google form and vote on which side you think won the debate. So we're going to do that for around 2 to 3 minutes, and then afterwards, we're going to close the voting and we're going to reveal the results. All right, hello. So voting has just concluded. Thank you for everyone who's voted. I love democracy. We're now going to take a few seconds as we wait for Brandon to set up the, okay, we're good to go. So, without further ado, the winners of the Opening of the House Show Debate 2024 are... Side opposition! Brandon, I need you to continue the slide.
We should shake across the floor.
Across the floor, shake hands.
Yeah. It's only...
All right, so that concludes the show debate. We're really grateful for everyone who's stayed around to listen to the whole debate, and really grateful to all of you guys who voted. It's nice to see so many of you guys engaged. I think we got 60 or something votes. So we really hope that you'll be able to stay with us for the rest of the event, as we also have a mini info session plan where you're going to meet a lot of the other executive members who are going to be responsible for making your experience here at the Debating Club an amazing one. And then we're also going to have a mix and mingle at the end afterwards, so make sure you stick around for that as well. Next slide. So to begin with, we have an upcoming event that's happening actually in 2 days on the Saturday, which is a really great way for you guys to really dip your feet into the club and get involved. So this is an annual event that we hold called Novice Training Day, and it's going to be held here in the Hart House building as well, but in the music room, which is on the second floor to your left. And it's going to be held the whole day on Saturday, September the 7th. So what's going to happen is that this is going to be an event that's going to serve as kind of like a workshop, but also a chance for you guys to practice debating on your own, so that you can kind of give the really cool speeches that you just heard these 4 debaters give. There's really no experience necessary, so it's going to be really beginner friendly. Even if it's your first time ever debating, maybe you've had some experience debating in your high school debate club, or you've just watched cool people debate on YouTube videos or whatnot. This is open to everyone, and there's something that everyone can learn and take away from this experience. Can you? All right, so if you guys haven't already signed up yet, feel free to scan the QR code to sign up. The event is also posted on our Discord server, so let's take 15 seconds for you guys to scan that QR code and sign up.
And on the Instagram, if you follow that.
Can I also plug the social for this event? Is it on the...
Okay, next slide is good. Okay, so another regular event that we have here at the Hart House Debating Club are our weekly meetings. So these weekly meetings are drop-in, they're open to every single member. There's no commitment unlike some other clubs or student groups at U of T, so you can kind of show up whenever it works for your schedule or your availability. The meetings will be held weekly on Tuesdays from 7 to 9 p.m. and Thursdays from 4 to 6 p.m. And the locations for the meetings, all of the information will, again, be announced on our Discord server, so make sure you're up to date there. what kind of takes place in these sorts of meetings is we usually run practice debates, so they're really good ways for you to practice and hone your debating skills. You can sign up to either debate at these practice debates or judge at them. And the really cool thing about these meetings is that we have 2 meetings coordinators that are going to select interesting, new, exciting, innovative motions and topics for you to debate every single meeting. And they're also responsible for pairing you guys up. So you're not going to be paired with like super duper good debaters if it's your first ever time debating, right? And so you guys will be paired to people similar to your skill level to ensure that everyone has a really fun and exciting debating experience. Next slide.
You didn't introduce them. David.
Oh, yes. Meetings coordinators. We have 2 of them. They are going to come up here now and introduce themselves and tell you a bit more.
Hello, my name is Joseph. I'm a 3rd year studying economics, and I'm running the Tuesday meetings from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. I promise there won't be too much IR.
Hi everybody, my name is Brendan. I'm also a 3rd year student. I'm studying accounting and doing a minor in classics. I run our Thursday meetings, and for both myself and Joseph, outside of meetings, just whenever you happen to see us around, feel free to come to us, ask us anything about U of T or the club in general, or you can feel free to message us on Discord, Instagram, LinkedIn, whatever. Hope you guys enjoy the year.
Okay. All right. So another really cool aspect of the Hart House Debating Club is that we also have tournaments. And these are not just a competitive option, we also have casual in-house tournaments, and that's what I'm going to talk about right now. So our in-house tournaments are kind of a more casual, relaxed, kind of like beginner-friendly sort of tournaments. These are in-house competitions we run within Hart House Debating Club, and there are 2 of these events. So there's a novice-only kind of in-house tournament that happens in the fall semester, where you guys will be paired with other novice debaters, and you'll face off against novice debaters to try to, I guess, be the best debating team. There's cool prizes. It's a day filled with fun debating and workshops and free food, so it's a really great opportunity. And then in our winter semester, we also have our Pro-Am in-house debate tournament. And Pro-Am is basically a pairing where you have an upper year, more experienced Hart House Debating Club member debate and mentor, kind of serve as a mentor as well to a newer member of the club. And so that's also an in-house tournament, same thing as the novice in-house. It's going to be really, really fun. It's going to be a jam-packed, exciting day. So the executive who handles the in-house tournaments, her name is Emily, and she's our internal tournaments coordinator. She is not present at this event, unfortunately. But yeah, you'll probably see her around at the weekly meetings and things like that. Cool. So that's it for the more casual kind of in-house sort of competitions. If you're also seeking a more advanced kind of tournament experience, if you're looking for a more competitive option, guess what? Hart House Debating Club also has something for you. So we also have many external competitions that we send our members to, and we actually have our external tournaments coordinators, executive members here to tell you guys a bit more about that and introduce themselves.
Hello. Wow. Hi everyone, my name is Brandon. I'm your external tournaments coordinator, logistics. We're changing that soon probably. That's way too long. If you ever check the Discord, everyone check the Discord, you'll see on the left side a subfolder, subsection. There's an area that says tournaments. And if you go to the announcements, you'll see my name there quite often. What I put there is what we call bidding forms. Bidding is basically you're showing your interest to a tournament. Notably, right now, bidding closes September 19th. That's in like 2 weeks. You have plenty of time. Bid for McGill Central Novice. That's an example of an external tournament. It's where we go externally from U of T. Roll credits. It's $50 for housing, transportation, as well as tournament registration. That's all you really need to know, to be honest. They also give you food. If you buy stuff at Montreal, we don't cover that. This is actually very important. Other than that, you'll also open to go regardless of skill level. So whether it's your first time debating or your last time debating, feel free to bid for most tournaments. Cool. If you have any questions, obviously reach out to me. Do you have a question now? Yeah, it's just a Google form. Spots. Here. Anyway, yeah. So it's just a Google form. You fill in your name, you fill in a bunch of information that seems kind of useless, but we have to. And you also have to have Facebook. Please get Facebook. I cannot stress this enough. Literally everything on debate happens on Facebook for no reason. So make a Facebook account, even if you only open it for debate. Okay, thanks everyone.
My goodness. Brandon said basically everything about Central Novice, but I think the one thing he missed is he didn't say how freaking cool it is of a tournament. You can only debate at this tournament if you're in your first year of debate. So I'm not allowed to debate, which is really sad, but I'll still be there. I'm helping organize it. It's a really good social opportunity. So we'll take you out to the coolest bars in Montreal. Montreal is opening a 24-hour nightlife district soon. If that's your thing, it's not my thing. You should get sleep. But Montreal is a really fun city. I'll say something that might be about the drinking age, but legally I can't say that to you guys if you're 18. And also, it's a chance to meet other younger or novice debaters who are from other institutions. So Waterloo has a really great debate society, so does Queen's, so does Western. Some of my closest friends are from these debate societies. So you should definitely consider signing up. It's the cheapest debate tournament to date. It's probably the most fun that I've been to, and it's all around a great experience. I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Caitlin. I'm your other external tournaments coordinator. My subcategory for this role is operations, which is basically a fancy word for I look at people who have signed up and kind of get to pick who signs up. So I know everything about you because you fill out that form. If you also have any questions, you can ask Brandon, but you can also ask me. I think I'm more chronically online than Brandon, so that might... so that might be helpful if you feel like you want to talk to me, but Brandon's a great guy. I'm going to give this back to David.
All right, yay. All right, run the next slide. Yes. All right, so the Hart House Debating Club isn't just a club focused on offering debating opportunities to its own members, it's also a very philanthropic club, and it works in terms of volunteering and service for other parts of the debate community across Toronto and across broader Ontario. So I'm really excited to call on our outreach director, Andre Zhang, and also our fruitiest member of the debating club to tell you guys a bit more about outreach.
Hi, okay, very cool. You guys are not, David, you're not funny. For the record, David came up to me right before he did that. It's like, oh, can I do that? Okay, anyways, okay, cool. So outreach. What outreach does is, as the name suggests, we basically bring debate to the rest of the Toronto and Canadian community. So events we've done in the past include outreach of workshops at high schools, at other universities. We run joint practices with other clubs. If you've attended a tournament when you were in high school, a Hart House tournament when you were in high school, there's a good chance that that was also run by the outreach team. Yeah, we do seminars, we do a lot of very cool stuff. So there's two main ways to get involved in outreach. The first is to join the outreach team. That's like a team that kind of acts as the go-to. We plan these events. The applications for that are now open. It's on the Discord. I will plug the link again tonight. I forgot to put the QR code up. And then the second thing is you also have the opportunity to sign up to participate in various outreach events all throughout the year. You don't need to be a part of the outreach event team to do these. Yeah, these are very cool. You should also do these. And separately, I guess the outreach team also hosts a bunch of tournaments throughout the year. So yeah, I guess that's another way to get involved in outreach is to help with those tournaments. Cool. All right, David.
Thanks, Andre. That was a really fruity introduction to Hart House and outreach. Okay, next up, we have our socials director, Diana, here, who is going to introduce the socials aspect, the community aspect of Hart House Debating Club.
Oh, okay. Hi, my name's Diana. I'm the socials director. So if you have a tasty beverage in your hands right now, that's on me. You're welcome, by the way. So we have a lot of non-debate related activities, and they're open to all regardless of how many or how few meetings that you're attending. So stuff that we have done in the past include karaoke, skating, billiards. We go to restaurants pretty often. We host study socials at Robarts where we all hang out in a study room together. We also do snowball fights, but those can't really be planned out of control when it snows. But we do a lot of fun stuff. And if you have any suggestions for fun activities that we can do, feel free to like DM me or just come talk to me. We're always open to running new events. All are welcome to attend, and they'll all be announced on Discord. Can I get next slide? Yeah, so today we'll actually have a social right after this event. When we end, we'll be going to Yinji Changfen. So it's a Chinese rice noodle place. They're quite cheap. The cost is just paying for your own food, and this will be our first social of the year. We'll all walk over, and hopefully they can accommodate all of us. And also, Andre gaslit me earlier, and I didn't announce our Novice Training Day social, which will be a fun picnic at the UC Quad with board games that we have borrowed from the Tabletop Gaming Club. There'll be Cards Against Humanity, Codenames, Werewolf, and we'll be playing board games, as well as a cool event where if you're a novice, aka you just joined the club, you can spray upper years with water guns and ask them trivia questions, and if they get one wrong, you can soak them with water guns. So that will be on this Saturday. Please come to Novice Training Day.
Thank you, Diana. What's your question? You can shoot me multiple times. Make sure you don't actually miss, unlike certain other people who failed the assassination. Okay, let's move on. So that concludes our info session. Thank you guys all for sticking around. Hopefully you guys have now had a better understanding of all of the different aspects of Hart House Debating Club that we offer. I guess before we move on to questions, let's just introduce our other executives that weren't mentioned in the info session yet. So, Crystal, come on up. And then we'll do you and me.
Hello, I'm Crystal. I'm a second year in Rotman Commerce studying finance. So I'm the club equity officer. In debate, you debate about controversial and interesting issues. This means that my job is to basically ensure that the environment is good and conducive to these discussions, such that people feel comfortable expressing their opinions, but also people feel safe and heard in case there are any equity issues. So feel free to talk to me about anything like that, or like stock pictures or whatever. I like them.
Okay, I think I've already introduced myself, but for the people who didn't hear, my name's Simon. I'm a fourth year finance and economics student. I'm the treasurer for the club, so I basically handle all the finances. If you are interested in hearing how we can afford to send you to Montreal for only $50, travel, like an Airbnb for the weekend, tournament registration, if you're interested in that, I can tell you, ask me after. Cool.
Sorry, I gotta lower it. He's too much taller than me. Okay, hi, I'm Kosar. I'm the communications director. I'm in my second year. I'm studying econ and CS, so if you have questions about that, ask me. I basically handle the Instagram, the website, the YouTube kind of with Will. So if you ever have pictures or videos or things you want published, you want to be seen, you can always send them to me or just come talk to me if you have an idea, and we'll get that running. Yeah.
Hi guys, if you're new to the club, you might not have seen me around yet, but if you're not new to the club, you might have seen me around. I'm not an executive member, I'm Will. I'm a photographer that does this kind of as my hobby, and you may see me around. So one of the channels in the Discord server is dedicated to photo galleries and video galleries and that kind of stuff, the club YouTube channel, and all sorts of content that you'll come to see throughout the year at tournaments. So yeah, if you want your photo taken at a tournament anywhere that I'm here, reach out to me. If you don't, there is a Google form link in the gallery channel that you can use as well. I want to make sure that everyone's comfortable with photography and videography, and I help with the photos and videos along with Kosar that you'll see on the YouTube channel and the Instagram page. So yep, nice to meet you guys. Thank you.
Great, so that concludes our executive introductions. Now there are some executives on our team that are also not present. For example, the fundraising director, Adam, our internal tournaments coordinator, Emily, is not here, and one of our recording secretaries, Harry, is also not here. But you probably will see them around in our weekly meetings if you do decide to attend. That being said, we are also missing 2 key executive members, our novice representatives, which are the first-year debater members of our club that are kind of serving as the representatives for the novice debating community as a whole. So usually we hold elections for those positions in September or early October. So if you guys are interested in that, if that's a position, that's a role that really interests you, if you're interested in having a voice on our executive board to be able to kind of like make decisions on club policies and discussions and all of that, we highly encourage you to stay tuned for information on how to be elected as a novice representative. Cool. So let's get one.
Okay, cool. So the other main benefit of being novice representative is that the role is that you can kind of, it's the only executive role that you can really shape it into what you want it to be. So because the role by nature is so ambiguous, you can pick which part of the exec you want to get involved in, which portfolio you want to help out on, which part you kind of want to do, and it's a lot of fun. It's kind of a way to dip your toes into all the different parts of the club. If you have questions about novice representative, that was my job last year. You can come talk to me after.
Great. All right, yeah, awesome. So that concludes our executive introductions. Does anyone have any questions? General, anything specific to the club, all of us would be happy to answer them right now. If you can't think of any, don't worry. You can also approach us later on if you would like to ask us one-on-one. Go ahead. The first club meeting will be the upcoming Tuesday. So I believe that's the 11th. 7 to 9 p.m., make sure you're there. Cool. Any other questions? Yeah, in the back. Sorry?
What's the winner of the debate plan?
Wait, like you mean of this current show debate? Oh, we already announced it. I think you may have missed it, but the winners were side opposition. Yay. Oh, it was not scripted. You guys voted for it. We couldn't have like paid everyone here to vote a specific way. So no, it was a genuine vote for side opposition. Hooray.
I saw that this word that forbid you need to volunteer. If you volunteer during the summer, does that count? Or is there no volunteer needs to create a bidding?
All right, outreach director.
Cool. So, that's generally, you know what? Okay, if you want to learn more about these volunteer requirements, like we will talk more about them later in the year. But for Central Novice, if you are a new member of the club, there's no service requirements, there's no volunteering requirements to bid for that tournament. So later tournaments, yes, but for the first tournament of the year, there's no expectation that you've like been involved or helped out the club in any way to bid.
Cool. Does that answer your question?
Yes, because I think I'm volunteering for something this week, and I don't remember what it is. It's like,
Cool. Anyone else have any other questions? Yeah, in the back.
For which one? Tonight? Oh, tonight the cost is just paying for your own food. We are only rich enough to afford beverages from the metro. But for novice training day, you will be provided with free lunch, which is pizza, I think.
Yep. Also, as I'm sure our treasurer would be very happy to talk to you about more, we have a pretty massive budget for our socials events in the future. So in the future, you can expect that future events might be partially subsidized. So you might only need to pay a small portion for the cost of food or whatever other events that you're attending. Does that answer your question? Great. Anyone else? All right, going one. Oh. That's just, yeah, because Montreal always hosts it every year. But it is Central Novices. Yes. Okay, what we'll also be doing, just to kind of answer any further questions and to serve as an FAQ, is we're going to send out another message in our Discord server, which will be pinned. It's going to have all of the links, all of the information of everything that we've talked about at this event. So keep an eye out for that to come later tonight. Any other questions? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Okay, next slide. Okay, I was just kidding about that part because now it is time to meet all of the Hart House Debate Club members. Feel free to move around, talk to the executives, ask them any questions you have about anything. Yes?